Hello, welcome back. We're on lesson 3. We're going to do painting flowers today. I'm going to do a quick review of some of the strokes that we've done previously because everything that you've done so far is all part of what we're going to be using and expanding on today. So I'm going to go over briefly a couple of quick things. One is if you are working and curious about how much color you should have on your brush or ink in the case of the dark, you can always check this out on a scrap piece of paper, and that will tell you if it's dark and you want it darker, you're fine. If you want it lighter, then you need to add more water, and that will give you control when it gets to your paper. So always keep some spare paper to the side. I like to practice the strokes before I actually put it onto my paper. And I will go ahead and get started. This is Grace. She's with us again today.
Hi.
All right, and we're going to just do a quick practice here of the previous strokes that we've had. If you recall, we did our bamboo. Water there. Make that dark. So, there we go. Holding your brush down on the paper, you put your brush down and pressure, pull the pressure off, pull back towards you, and it makes a little petal. And that's what we do with our bamboo stalk. Bamboo leaves. I'm going to make that a little more intense. Check my color here. We're going to do light touch makes the branch. And we're going to do a leaf quickly. You're just going to start with pressure on the brush, drag it out, gradually pull the pressure off, and it should go to a point. That makes your bamboo leaves. So those are 3 of the basic strokes that you need for what we will be doing today. We also had one more, which we learned about last time. Just flip this over because we're just practicing. I'm going to show you the grass. And that one was a little tricky. It takes a lot of practice. You put it down on the paper, pull up, go to a point, short distance, and then back down. And that will give you the impression that there is a twist in the grass. So then there are just, for the wild orchids, there were just short little strokes. And that made our wild orchid. So we have our grass, pressure off, twisted, pressure on, lifted to a point. So those are the strokes that we've already learned. So today we're going to be doing flowers and we're adding in color. So Grace, would you hand me a piece of the paper here? I'm going to show you the easiest one to do first. And that would be a 5-petal, kind of like the cherry blossom. It's a 5-petal flower. And you can have your paper going in either direction. I am going to have mine go this way, and I'm going to decide, I think I'll put 3 flowers. I'll put one over here, maybe one here, and one down on this part of the paper. So I have this kind of way of balancing 3 of them on here in kind of a triangular way. So we're going to start. The color is going to be from the lightest at the end to the darkest at the tip. So I have some paint here and I'm putting my brush into it. You can see the water is mixing. And then I'm going to, at the very end, dip it to get the most intense red, in this case, at the tip. And then I'm going to use the shape of the brush to create my petal. So I'm going to start, here's the center, I'm going to start and I'm going to just move this around, but I want it to stay to a point. It's going to be darker towards the center, lighter towards the edges. So I'm going to try that. And this is a 5-leaf flower. So I'm going to take my paint again. And I'm going to do another one with a little bit of a distance. I don't have these on top of each other. They're going to each have a little space in between. So I start with the point towards the center. And then I just move the around to widen out the petal a little bit. Do the same thing here. So we're on number 3. Starts with the center. And that makes the petal. 2 more. You can turn your paper. You don't have to leave it in one position there on your table if it's easier to turn it. There we go. One last one right here. Darkest to the center. And I'm just going to jiggle my brush a little bit to create the petal. So I'm going to do this now on this paper. I'm going to start with one over here. I'll do one here and one down here. And I see Grace is already working on this. Doing a great job. There we have. Let me do some right there. So I'm going to start here from the center. Just jiggle this a little bit to make my petal a little wider. Right there. There we go. I'm going to turn my paper because it's a little easier to manipulate it. Three. Paper again here. 4. I think I can do this one right like that. There's my 5-petal flower. I'm going to do another one over here and then one near the bottom. Tips, I have some dark towards the center. Here. 3. Brush a little bit. My 5th petal is going to go right here. Oh, and then I will do one more flower down here. This. Here. This one. Ahead of me there. Here. All right, so now we have 3 of these nice wild flowers. I'm going to clean this brush off because we're going to go into, I'm going to take my smallest brush, and you can use a traditional paintbrush if you don't have a fine one like this one. You can use a traditional paintbrush and it will work too. You just have to almost 0 pressure on it because you want to make little dots for the center with the black. Turn it on this paper if you want. Nice job. But it's like no pressure on those points, and it makes a nice little dot. Perfect. You got it. Okay. Now these are like wildflowers, so they're going to be on, oh, more like a grassy type. So I'm going to take some green. I might mix it, just make it a little darker by mixing it with a tiny bit of the black. The black is really intense, so you always want to have the least amount possible, because otherwise you'll end up with a very dark color very quickly. I just want to make it slightly different. I'm using my fine brush, but if you have a brush that has a really nice fine point, you can certainly use that one. So I'm going to do this stem up to here. If you're having trouble with color on your brush and it's not going on there, it might be that you need a little bit of water to get it to flow. This one is growing from down below, so it's only going to have a little bit of the top showing. How are we doing? Okay, so I'm going to put this paper over here to the side, and would you find me another piece of paper? Start. We're going to do a second type of flower, and this one will be the chrysanthemum. Asian chrysanthemums are very unique. They're like little pom-poms. So you're going to do an Asian style one, but the leaves for chrysanthemums are going to be the same, whether it's the Asian style blossom or the one more traditional that we recognize as chrysanthemums. So you're going to take your brush, and I'm going to get a little bit of green and a tiny bit of the dark, because I want to make the leaf a little bit darker green than the straight out of the container green. And in this case, you're going to, we'll do some practice ones here. It's almost like a cloud, a fluffy, fluffy cloud. And you're going to put your brush down, and there you have it. So I'm going to do a second one here. And then I'll show you the next step. We'll need to let this dry in between, but I'm going to do the next step here, making a fluffy cloud. This would go into a stem So we can set that off to the side, let it dry, because if I do anything more to the leaf now, it will run and be a big blob. Another paper, thank you. Do it in this direction. You can do it either way, but I think the tall way works better for what I'm doing right now. I'm going to take my brush again because we're going to do a chrysanthemum. I always keep a towel in case I need to blot, get some extra water off. I also keep to see how clean my brush is, as well as how intense the color is on it. But I don't want a lot of black in here. So we're going to do a flower. When you are doing the flower, you're going to start with the lightest color, and we'll probably do 3 different tones. So you're going to have the lightest one, and then we'll go to the second, and then the darkest color will be the last one we're doing. With a chrysanthemum, they're like fluffy pom-poms. We're going to be making something like when you are making commas or quotation marks. So this is the stroke we're going to be using, something along those lines. So this is pretty dark right now. I think for my first one, I want it a little lighter than that. So I'm going to try a little more water, a little less color, and that might work better. Let's see. Yeah, that's good now. Up here, I'm going to do, this is going to be the base. It's kind of like a, I don't know, this worm, a little bit of a line there, so I have somewhere to start. And then I'm going to do my first one. I'm going to do going in these different directions. They're not really super long strokes, but they are different lengths. So do a number of these. And then I'm going to go, after I've done this, I'm going to get the color a little more intense. I'll check it out. So now I'm going to, I can overlap, and I'm going to go another group of these in between over the top. And then most intense color will be the last one. So I want almost straight red. So do. It gives you a little depth to what you're doing with the chrysanthemums. There we go. Now I'm going to make the stem. So I need to clean this off. Oops, got a lot of red in there. Clean that off a little better. Now I'm going to go with the green. Here. And then I'm going to go down with the stem. I'm going to have a little space where I'm going to have the leaf coming off. And again, those leaves are going to be like fluffy clouds. And over here, oh, that's water. Yeah. There you go. Now I'm going to let this dry because I don't want to come back in here with the dark. Until I know that it's not going to run in the midst of what I'm doing. So I'm going to take this and very, very lightly touch to make the veins on my, not too many, not too dark, very light touch. You want it more gray. If for whatever reason, when I have a little bit fuller looking flower, I just come back in and you can just add more in here. And or you can say that's enough. I'm done. It's a tendency to easily overdo it. So these are two kinds of flowers. And this is the chrysanthemum. This was our first wildflower that we did. And Grace, do you want to show yours? And there you go. Perfect. There you go. I think that is as far as we'll go today. We did two different flowers, and next time we will do something completely different. Bye. Bye.